Daniel Negreanu is looking down at pocket tens. Pre-flop begins with a standard yet deceptive setup involving three very different playing styles. Negreanu, operating from position, opens the pot to 2,500, looking to thin the field. Phil Lack, holding ace-queen offsuit, finds himself in a spot where many aggressive pros would 3-bet to isolate the opener. However,
just calls.
He keeps Negreanu's range wide, but he also invites the third player into the mix. Rick Salomon, never one to turn down a cheap flop with a suited connector, comes along with 6-3 suited. We head to the flop three-way, with Negreanu holding a strong pair and Locke holding a hand that dominates the Broadway portion of Negreanu's range, but is currently just ace-high. The flop creates a massive disparity in equity. Negreanu has flopped bottom set, hitting his 10 to create a monster. The king on top is the perfect disguise. It connects heavily with Negreanu's perceived pre-flop raising range, allowing him to represent a top pair while actually holding a set. Salomon checks his air, and Negreanu fires a bet of 5,500. This is where Phil Lack makes a questionable decision that defines his sticky play style. He holds a gut shot straight draw. Against a tight player, this is an easy fold. But against Negreanu, who is capable of continuation betting with pure air or a smaller pair like 8s or 9s, Locke convinces himself that his hand has showdown value. The turn brings the king, pairing the board. This is the magic card for Negreanu. He improves to a full house, 10s full of kings. He is now unbeatable.
Fires 18.
Really, Danielson? 18, Danielson?
Too late to change my mind now.
It's true, you're kind of committed to that.
I'd show you a card, but they're both the same.
I'm afraid you have two 10s. How can I call? I can't call, I fold.
I have two 10s. I have two 10s. What do you mean I'm afraid? How did you know that? You have a king, obviously.
No, I didn't have a king.
I did have two 10s. Well done. Where does that rank? Like, as far as my face, do you believe that I was telling the truth or lies? Because we're mixing that up now.
I thought you had three 10s.
Yeah.
Tom Dwan looks down at pocket sevens on the button. Peter 3-bets to $7,200 from the small blind with ace-5 suited, the classic light squeeze that leans on his perceived range advantage and punishes wide opens. It folds out a chunk of Dwan's air while still having blockers and playability when called. Against Dwan, though, that kind of hand rarely wins the pot uncontested. Dwan calls for solid reasons. Pocket sevens have real showdown value, don't fear most flops, and crucially can cooler top pair ranges by upgrading to sets on ace-high or 10-high textures. Flatting also preserves position and a healthy SPR, letting him navigate post-flop without bloating the pot pre. The flop comes ace-7-10. Peter fires $5,500 into the pot. From his seat, this board is his. The 3-better owns more strong ace-X, and C-betting denies equity from backdoor suits and gutters like king-queen or queen-jack. Dwan isn't buying. With middle set, he turns that auto C-bet into a lever, bumping it to $16,000. The raise does three things. It taxes all Broadway draws immediately. It announces that Peter won't get to set the pace for cheap, and it starts building a pot that can comfortably play for stacks by the river. Peter calls, consistent with top pair, decent kicker hands, some sticky queens and jacks with back doors, and the occasional trap. He keeps his range wide enough to fight future streets while not clarifying where he's at. The turn is the queen, tightening ranges and connecting with Broadway draws. Peter now leads for $15,000, trying to seize the initiative back on a card that improves many of his semi-bluffs. This stab is less pure value and more about denying a free river to King-Jack, Queen-Jack, and Jack-9, while forcing Dwan to declare strength or fold middling hands. The lead also subtly caps him. When the small blind block bets on this texture, he's less likely to hold sets that slow-played the flop and more likely on one pair, ace-X or a queen, that picked up equity. Tom Dwan doesn't hesitate. He raises to $48,000. A size that polarizes his range and puts every draw in the vice. It punishes the block bet, prices out those 12 to 15 outer combos, and reclaims initiative so he dictates the river. Just as important, the raise calibrates the stacks. After this, the remaining SPR is low enough that any blank lets him jam cleanly, while even scary rivers have already been charged a premium.
Wow, all in. And a snap call. $262,000 pot. Peter is drawing dead. Tom makes a full house on the river.
Tony G is holding 5-4 offsuit. Pre-flop. Tony G opens to 1,000. Hellmuth bumps it to 2,000. That re-raise looks small, almost like a keep-it-friendly sizing, but it is actually very revealing. With a hand that plays great post-flop and dominates Tony's usual junk, Hellmuth chooses control over punishment. He does not go big and try to blow Tony out. He invites him in.
Things can get nasty at the end, right? The river was wild.
Confident that if they see a flop, he will outplay him. Tony checks, which is standard with his marginal pair and draw potential. But Hellmuth checks back as well. That check from a 3-better on this texture is all about pot control and deception. In Hellmuth's head, his hand is good often enough that he wants to see turns and rivers without inflating variance. From Tony's perspective, this is the perfect moment to take the lead. He bets 4,000. It looks like a probe from a weak 9 or a semi-bluff, but underneath it is pure value, designed to keep Hellmuth's entire range in.
Call.
That's 10 grand. Phil calls,
call.
sees the bad news.
He has a full house.
You didn't raise?
At least maybe we'll get the blow up we're all waiting for.
I know you got a flush.
The 9. This guy's raising.
He's got a 9. You try.
Explosion's about to happen.
Break the trike.
Bottom pair against top pair, where he's going to pay me off another 8,000. But no, he fills up and wins 14 for me.
You're a disgrace to the game.
Where do you come up with that?
I'll tell you, can I tell you one thing, Tony? Can I tell you one thing? I wish that I weren't a bad loser sometimes, but it's 10 times as bad to be a bad winner. And you're a bad winner, my friend.
Selbst, sitting in the big blind, looks down at a pair of jacks, a strong but tricky hand in this scenario. Facing a raise and a 3-bet, she opts to flat call rather than 4-bet. While a 4-bet would help narrow the field and define her opponent's ranges, it could also bloat the pot and force her into tough post-flop spots if she's up against a hand like queens, kings, or aces. Her flat call allows her to control the pot size while disguising her hand strength, keeping her range wide enough to include potential traps. The flop lands Queen 2 Jack, and Selbst couldn't have asked for better. Her pair of jacks connects perfectly, giving her middle set and a commanding lead in the hand. Chen, holding Ace-Queen suited, flops top pair with backdoor flush and straight draws, making his hand strong but significantly vulnerable to Selbst's concealed strength. Selbst leads out with 80,000 bet, a sizing that achieves multiple goals. It builds the pot while extracting value from weaker hands like top pair or speculative holdings with equity. Importantly, her bet disguises her hand's full strength. Opponents may interpret it as a standard value bet, or even a semi-bluff. Chen, with top pair and additional equity from his backdoor draws, decides to call. From his perspective, Selbst's range from the big blind could include hands like King-Queen, Queen-Jack, or even bluffs, making a fold too conservative. The turn changes the dynamics of the hand with the 8 of diamonds, creating a more draw-heavy board. Selbst still holds the lead with her set of jacks, but the new card introduces a flush draw and enhances the straight possibilities. She increases the pressure with a bet of 150,000. This bet is designed to charge draws like the nut flush and extract further value from hands like Chen's top pair. While the sizing is solid, Selbst may have missed an opportunity to go larger, putting Chen to an even tougher decision. Chen's ace-queen suited improves with the nut flush draw, making his hand significantly stronger in terms of potential equity. He calls the 150,000, which is the correct decision based on the pot odds and his outs to the nut flush. By calling, Chen keeps the pot manageable while preserving his chance to improve on the river. The river delivers the 7, completing Chen's nut flush with ace-queen suited and spelling disaster for Selbst. Unaware of Chen's exact holding but recognizing her set is still vulnerable, Selbst decides to shove all in. However, this move is a misstep. The shove assumes Chen might fold marginal holdings, but his turn call strongly represents a flush, especially the nut flush. A smaller bet, or even a cautious check, could have limited Selbst's losses given the dangerous board texture. Chen barely needs to think. With the nuts, his call is automatic. There's no possible hand on this board that can beat him. He confidently flips over his cards, claiming the massive pot, and leaving Selbst regretting her river shove. Jennifer Tilly is looking down at pocket aces.
Did you look at your cards?
Yes, I'm qualified.
I bet you are.
Pre-flop begins with a double straddle. Tony G decides to attack the money. He raises to 5,000. It is a standard aggression play from the Loudmouth Pro, expecting to pick up the blinds and straddles. However, Jennifer Tilly, sitting in the double straddle, wakes up with the pre-flop nuts. She doesn't slow play. She 3-bets to 15,000. This is a pivotal moment. A tighter player might fold ace-jack here, fearing domination, but Tony G's ego and the deeper stack depths convince him to stick around. The flop falls all spades. This monotone board changes the math entirely. Tony G has flopped middle pair with his jack, but he holds no spades, meaning he is drawing very thin if he is behind. Tilly, however, holds the ace of spades along with her overpair. She fires a continuation bet of 25,000. Tony G, ever the non-believer, convinces himself that Tilly might be semi-bluffing with a hand like ace-king holding a spade.
Big pot.
Huge.
The turn brings the 8. Here, Tilly decides to exercise pot control. She checks. This is a savvy move. By checking, she conceals the strength of her hand. She knows that if she bets again, she might only get called by a flush or 2 pair. The river is the 3. Now, Tilly repeats the bet sizing from the flop. This is a classic value inducement bet. It is small enough that it looks like a defensive blocking bet or a weak attempt to steal the pot.
Wow.
Wow, aces with the spade. Very nice, Jennifer.
You had me drawing dead.
Really?
Insane. Wow.
It's getting fun, isn't it?
Double
Yeah.
straddle and picks up aces, huh?
I know, right?
How beautiful is that?
The first double straddle was aces. Guess that's a sign.
That's my first aces, too.
Well, you deserve it.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down at Jack 9 offsuit.
Freak. What a freak.
He's a gift from nature.
Wow, you know what? I'm glad that I've changed your opinion because I don't really ever want to be known as a normal guy.
Pre-flop begins with a dynamic that always promises action. Negreanu has placed a straddle, effectively buying the big blind and doubling the stakes before the cards are even dealt. This forces the table to play for a bloated pot and creates aggressive incentives. Randy Lou, the online volume king, looks down at ace-3 suited. This is a hand that thrives in deep-stacked, straddled pots because of its nut potential. Lou raises to 2,500, attacking the straddle aggressively.
What is that? What did you do? 25?
25.
Well, your button VPIP is rather high as well.
I'm not Bryn.
I know, but you still play a lot of pots in that late little position, so I can call here profitably long term.
Yep.
Danny makes the call.
If you were nitty, I would have folded this hand.
The flop falls a monotone miracle. For Negreanu, this is a tricky spot. He has flopped middle pair with his jack, giving him a piece of the board, and knowing him, he definitely wants to call.
Okay, this could be trouble for both of us. I'm already feeling a lot of pain. Check. Oh, so fast. You don't think. He's so good. Online, the same thing. 75 decisions in 3 seconds. How much?
35.
Well, I can't fold.
How many
Clearly.
times do you misclick a day?
He doesn't misclick. He's
Never?
genius.
Yeah.
Negreanu decides to peel one card. He figures that his pair of jacks might be good if Lou is bluffing, and he wants to see if the board pairs or if he can hit a straight.
Is that a misclick 35 or you got something?
Miss chip.
The turn brings the 7, and it is the 4th heart on the board. This card drastically changes the whole hand.
Well, now this kind of kills the action. There could have been a whole craziness. Now the heart's already there, so either you got one or you don't, right? I'm gonna defer.
9,000.
Okay, you're good. You bet like a medium heart here too. I know you. 9,000?
9,000.
Okay, you bet a lot of hands here. Good player you are. I like to bet 9. I don't have a heart, so I'll let you take it.
Thank you.
Good bluff. No, you didn't bluff. You had it.
Of course I had it.
Did something.
Of course I had 2 cards.
There you go. That's why you don't call out position, get outplayed by these whippersnappers, right?
Tough.
Lock.
They like
Check call, check.
Daniel Negreanu is looking down at 6-5 offsuit, but he's up against his nemesis of 20 years, Phil Ivey, who's holding King-Jack suited. Ivey raises to 75,000. Most players would probably fold in Daniel's spot.
No choice, can't fold it. Gotta see a flop in the big blind.
There's the call. So it's Daniel versus Phil.
Ivey is 64% favorite for now, but the flop comes 8-6-6 and Negreanu hits trips.
I don't see Phil falling for this.
Phil checks too. I don't know how, but he can somehow feel Daniel is strong here.
A king on the turn.
Now I see him falling for it a little.
Negreanu wants Phil second-guessing every assumption. Wants him trapped between is he bluffing and is he setting me up? What looks like hesitation is actually misdirection. This is less about cards, more about control.
Daniel leads. Phil now with top pair.
Even if you think Daniel has a 6, you can't just go folding top pair.
Negreanu's sizing here leaves Ivey about 3.5 to 1 on a call. And with top pair, that's usually a no-brainer. But what Daniel's really doing here is laying the groundwork for the river. He's planting the seed that says, if you call now, you're going to have to call big later. This is psychological compounding. Pressure applied in stages. Daniel is hoping that Phil did indeed hit that king on the turn, and he's going to try to make him sweat like a maniac.
He calls. The river is a jack.
Wow, Daniel is running better than pre-Fontaine.
Daniel value bets his trips. Phil forced to call with top 2.
Nope.
So obvious you have a 6. Got 350.
Trip 6s. Phil shows King Jack for top 2. Daniel's trip 6s take 5.
Good call, good call. Good thing you didn't raise. That was smart. You know what you're doing.